My name is Faye Holland, and I've actually been in business since 1988. And the history is just really, really long. I started out in a little building on 57 that a man named Charlie Finney owned, and he was a businessman in this area for years. Everybody knew him. Anyway, he had this little one-room building down on 58, little white building. And that was my first office. I was there for 2 years. We're a full service accounting firm. We do everything from personal income taxation to audits. We do assistance in setting up your businesses. If you're a nonprofit, we can do everything with that start to finish. Income taxation, we do the electronic filing for the whole 9 yards. And if you have problems, you don't have to have been our customer previously, but we do problem resolution with the IRS. You name it, we do it. We help set up all businesses, LLCs, corporations, whatever route you want to go. And we also do Business 101. That's something I like to do with new businesses. And that's your initial consultation at no cost to try to help determine what your business goals are. And we've been doing that since 1988. Once I got here in this building, for some reason, the fact that this was the historical black uh, business part of Martinsville. So that always had a drawing for me. I liked that. I liked being where Dr. Baldwin and all these other historians had landed and kind of paved the way. So that's why I've been here. I've stayed here, and quite frankly, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. You know, there were 6 of us, and my mom and dad, when they filed return, they never got refunds. One lady in the community did everybody's taxes, and so I thought something is wrong with this picture. So I would call her, and we would go over things, and there were things on that return that she was not asking them. And so it dawned upon me that you need to talk to people and find out, because income taxation is the only tax you get to determine what you're obligated to pay. And without knowing your lifestyle or what affects you, you can't effectively do the job. And that was a problem. So once I started doing that, it just kind of got a mission to see what was going on with my other neighbors, because I went to a church and tithes and things, people were not deducting simple things like that. And so the mission, I think, was to help people get what they were entitled to and do what they were legally obligated to do. And that was kind of a driving force. And after that, I just kind of just fell in love with doing taxes. I don't know why. But, sometimes in life, people, you do what you have to do to make a living. And in the early days, yeah, I had a son, so I did 2 or 3 jobs most of my life up until I became my own boss. Once I became my own boss, and the challenge to do that was something my head said, every month you got to make X amount to keep a roof over this child's head. So I usually worked a couple of jobs until, like I'd say, 1993, because I started in 1988. And in 1988 was when my mission to do them just kind of soared. But I always did 2 jobs up until like 1998, maybe, to pay my bills. And then once I learned being an entrepreneur, you have to look at your bottom line, and you've got to look at what the bottom line needs to look like next month. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm so impressed now with all the younger entrepreneurs in the office. I mean, not the office, the area, because I look at, in Facebook, I'm not a huge fan, but I get to keep up with stuff. And I look at the businesses and that grew from people doing their side hustles. And I am just in awe of the inspiring things some of the people are doing in Martinsville, Henry County, because these young people will have an idea. They will research it. They will dive right into it. They are doing some awesome things around here. They really are. And back when I started, you didn't have sources. You didn't have resources. Like now we got Uptown Partnership, and we have Mike Scales. We have all these assets that are just phenomenal now. As you're doing what you like doing, when people come to me and ask questions, I love answering questions. So when you say mentoring, I think I've never really looked at myself as a mentor. But it's interesting now because I have a couple of young ladies. One lady, she would call me every 2 or 3 days and say, Miss Holland, what do you think? And I love that. I really, really do. It's a great time right now for businesses. And Martinsville is especially a great time because I look around and I'd say as much as 5 years ago, before the college came, I would look out my front door and all there was a field. And if you saw in the course of the week 2 or 3 people going uptown, just walking, it was like, oh, there's somebody walking up the street. Now, every day, I mean, there's traffic. And I'm just amazed at the changes and transformations that we've made in this area. Because when I got here, well, in business, I arrived around the 70s. When I started working and doing my thing was in the 70s. And at that point, a lot of the African American perspectives of things were laid already. So you knew how to figure out how to get in where you fit in. So I was a get in where you fit in kind of thing. And when I got to Fayette Street, there were businesses, the beauty shops, and I got to watch these other entrepreneurs that were doing what they were doing. And it's like, okay, I can do that. I can do this. I was kind of raw. I knew what I had to do, and just watching what the other entrepreneurs on this street were doing, it's like, okay, I would go to Prillamans, for example, and it's like, okay, they got a system, and I'll go to the beauty shops. I'm like, okay, they got a way they do things. But there are resources now. We should not have resources that you could call. I mean, Harvest is there now. We call them, and they go, okay, if you're not tax exempt, let's figure out how we can help you, or if we can help you. And if they can't, they'll point you in the right direction. And for the longest time, there was not assistance in direction. So that's new and very, very special. And that's kind of what Martinsville brings to the area. And they show concern. Because I tell you a simple small thing I had trouble with getting Fayette Street in sync with Uptown. For the longest time, this block had no street lights. We had to fight to get them. I mean, we would call at least 4 or 5 times a year. Okay, so why does this block not have lights like everybody else? It stopped at Market. At Market to the end, of Fayette, the businesses had street lights. But from Market all the way up to Perlman, we had nothing. When they did the Christmas lights, when they did all that, we didn't have it. And from what I understand, that happened was once upon a time when they were doing the lights and the cabling, they had told business owners, okay, you need to do input. You need to pay a fee to help us get this done. And of course, Mr. Finney that I mentioned was very outspoken. And he was like, I'm not going to say what he said, but it was no. And so somebody uptown, somebody in city council said, well, okay, we're just not going to give y'all lights. And this was back way in the day. And we never had lights until in maybe about 8 years now. This block did not have lights. And it was typical of some of the things with Fayette Street not being treated fairly like other areas in town. And so now, Kathy Deacon, she's great about coming and sitting down going, what do you think? And I said, this is what I think. And I will tell you what I think. And so anything I've presented, they try to find a way or a suggestion. Doesn't always work, but they try. And you get big brownie points for trying, really. You know what I mean? If you do the best you can, then people cannot get upset with you for not making something happen if you can't make it happen. But they try. And that's important to me in what the city gives to Fayette. Now, what Fayette gives to the city is the reality that it's always been a booming street, booming business, a booming business of entrepreneurs doing the best they can with what they've got and striving and progressing in the environment that they have. So, and to the city of Martinsville, we bring the reassurance that we are going to get there. We're going to be what we need to be. We're going to do what we need to do, and we're going to get there. We just need a little help.